Hello everyone, my name is Hasham. I'm the owner of Clemson Aeronautics, where we make the riveting and dimpling systems. After a long time being absent from working on my airplanes, filling out order for the machine shop portion of the business and filling on some orders from Clemson Aeronautics. I am back working on my horizontal stabilizer again, and the first task was to rivet the nose ribs to the skin. As I had finished preparing all the parts, everything was deburred and primed and everything, and there is two ribs, the nose ribs, to be riveted to the skin while it's sitting inside the cradles. I did not film that, and the outcome was not very good. It is done, but not as good as I would like it to look like. There's a couple of dings, and I had to drill out probably 5 or 6 rivets that I wasn't happy with. The task was difficult because it's very narrow space and so forth. So I'm gathering some pointers out so I can give it to you before you start on these nose ribs, so you can be careful when you start on yours. First thing, doing the nose ribs to the skin, they are very difficult. It's very tight space, as I mentioned, and there's 5 rivets. The first top 3, they are easy. With any kind of bucking bar, you probably get it done. You'll manage to get it. The one after that, this one, is a little bit more difficult because of the space where you're going to put the bucking bar and stuff like that, and so forth. The last one is very difficult, and you could easily hit the skin, and as soon as you touch the skin, it marks it. You can see it from the outside. So advice, first thing, this is a 2-person operation, because not only that the space is very narrow, you can't see very well. It's very dark in there, and you have to have good light. I had my big lights shining from the side and everything, and it was still difficult. You need a good bucking bar. And at the same time, I have to be narrow enough to accommodate that last hole in the bottom. You need to cushion below the area, below the skin, below the nose rib. And I kept on thinking, what can I use to do this and still give me enough space to have a bucking bar in there. And it's really necessary. If you really want to protect it, you got to do something. And after it was all said and done, this morning, thought came to my mind, is putting something rubber down there. It's like, you know, an inner tube, a piece of inner tube that you can cut, or rubber that thin, about a 1/8 thick rubber or something. You can cut a strip and stick it underneath there, have it in a V shape to protect it. Put 6, 7 layers, 10 layers of our sticky tape that we use down there, as many as you can put down there, to layer it around where you're gonna stick your bucking bar at. it will be worth your time, because as soon as you touch the skin with the bucking bar, being a reflection from a hit from your rivet gun, it will make a mark that you can see from the outside. So I know it is a headache, and but after all this hard work you've done on the horizontal stabilizer, it will be worth investing the time just so you can do those 8 rivets, because there is 4 of them, so 2 in each one, 8 rivets. It will be worth it to pad it as much as you can to keep from messing up the skin from the inside. As you can tell, I built a special cradle for my horizontal stabilizer, and I built it where it's not so high, where I can stick my hand in there, or my arm. You pretty much have to stick your arm all the way in there to be able to buck it while using the rivet gun from the outside. So I built it that way so I don't have to stand on top of something while I'm doing this. So it might be a good idea to have it where somewhere lower to the ground. The horizontal stabilizer be sitting lower towards the ground, where the person that's bucking would be comfortable. The person that's bucking need to be stable, because he's the one that is going to hold the bucking bar in place and make sure it doesn't hit the skin. The other person is kind of free. He's just standing outside and aiming for the rivet. And be very precise. Don't miss the surrounding of the rivet. And make that your job. And the person that's bucking from the other side, he have to make his job to make sure he doesn't hit the skin. And so when you're holding the bucking bar inside the rib, you can rest it against the rib itself to be secure, so it doesn't, if it comes outside, you'll hit the skin. So, and at the same time, the second person needs good light, so he can hold the flashlight with one hand and the bucking bar with the other hand, and so forth. You need to be for that job. It is worth the extra effort and extra time to make sure that all your hard work doesn't go to waste by ruining the skin trying to rivet those bottom 2 rivets on each side of that nose rib. So I did not film it because I knew it was gonna get really ugly. So it didn't get too ugly. I had a couple of dings in there that wasn't terribly bad. I mean, the kind of dings that you can cover up with Bondo and painting and stuff like that. It's not a wave, it's just a little ding. Something that I'm not very happy with, but it's a fact. When you're building an experimental aircraft, you're gonna experience those at one point or the other. So anyhow, we're gonna continue our build according to our manual, and let's start. You just saw my horizontal stabilizer skin sitting in the cradle with the front spar in it, and with all the assembly complete and everything, and me still holding 2 ribs. And those are the 2 ribs in the middle, and according to the instruction, it tells you not to put these now. You can do it last. After you finish everything, you can rivet those last. And I know now from experience that those 5 rivets is going to be extremely difficult. So God help us. Prints call for inserting the front spar assembly into place like this. You have to note these 9 rivets. These are on the bottom. You see here I wrote this is the left, this is the right skin. These are on the bottom. We have to note that. And later on when we put the rear part, the notch on it will be on the bottom also. One other thing to confirm that this is the top is the holes that we made that we did not dimple for the fairing. The next task that we have everything assembled here and cleated in like you see here. And guys, I need to stop right here and tell you, hats off for Vance. This thing, and I know what tolerance is when you're machining parts. I can't imagine what they had to go through to punch this parts right here with this accuracy. Everything fits perfectly, everything. So I think I said enough about that. The next task at hand is to rivet. You see these clicos? There's 3 clicos here, there's 3 clicos here. Yeah, here they are. And excuse me. So there is 12 rivets in there. These are pop rivets, and they are in the bag 1125-1. We just have to use pop rivets on those and rivet those into place, and now this will be secured into place for right now before we start riveting the skin to everything else. Okay folks, you just saw that in high speed. What you have to my experience now with this tells me that the pop rivet shaft could fall down in there and it would be a hassle to get it. So I went to my toolbox and got a magnet so I can retrieve it, so I don't leave it inside the airplane. That's one thing. The other thing is when you're trying to put the rivet in place, you might not have finger strength to be able to shove it inside the hole. And then if you put it in the tool and then flip the tool over to try to put it in there, it could fall off. So what I found working for me is to put it in the tool, close the tool. That first closure does not really pull on it, it just grips it and it stays and it doesn't fall off. Then I aim for the hole and stick it in there, then I'll have enough backing here to push it through the hole if it got hung. One of the holes, it did not want to go through, so I had to bring in a 12-inch drill and clean up the hole to be able to get this thing through. So this is what just happened. The next 6 holes will probably be the same. I finished riveting all the pop rivets. After I finished everything, I counted the stems and there was one missing, and my God, I thought it's inside the the stabilizer somewhere, that it fell down and I didn't pay attention or anything, and I kept looking and I finally found it on the floor. But yeah, make sure. There's 2 things. As I mentioned earlier, when you're trying to put it in, the rivet will fall out if you have it like this. So you can put the rivet in and you can squeeze it, but without squeezing it. I think the first time you compress the handle, it just holds the rivet in place. Then you can lower it down in the hole and put it in the hole. You need to kind of feel whether it actually went in all the way or not. You might have to shine a light in there because it's dark, and I have the shop light on beside the skylights and everything, and it wasn't enough. I had to bring in the big light after my big flashlight died, so I had to use one of my Harbor Freight lights and drop it in there to make sure that I'm all the way down flush. Then I had to make sure that this is perpendicular on the rivet. So while you're doing this number in there, you can easily be with an angle, and then especially on the last stroke you'll find yourself kind of with an angle. So all of them, actually, if you're doing any compressing at all, you need to make sure that this part is perpendicular on the hole itself, or the spar, or the rivet head will be kind of crooked. So you got to make sure of that. There is a couple of times that I had to use my 12-inch drill to clean it up. And this, I mean, if you guys are watching all my tapes, you will find that there was a tape where I particularly was talking about how when you rivet the spar caps, and I said I need to use drills to line them up, the butt of the drill to go in there and to make sure that line up before I cleco them, so they line up perfect. And during the drilling process and all that stuff, if you drill one set and then you're gonna do the other set, if you don't cleco it and line it up with a drill, now all the other rivets are gonna be off by just a little bit. So now you can't center them. This is when this comes into play. This today, these two holes that I had to clean up is really, it's not because it's not lined up. It's because of the primer. I went a little heavy with the primer. It was stuck in there. It was hard, and I didn't want to push it really hard. So I just cleaned it up a little bit with the drill. As soon as I went like this, it went through. So be careful with that. Well, reviewing the next steps for the building the horizontal stabilizer, I'll show you what I understood from the plan, and if you guys see that I'm not in the correct or on the correct path, please let me know. From what I understand from the plans here is that we should start by riveting the front spar all the way end to end. What I'm planning on doing, I'm starting in the center. I will do like this section here, then do on the other side, the other section. Then I'm gonna do this section, then other side go this section, then extend it, and so forth till I reach the end, riveting the skin to the front spar. Then what the plan calls for is to go up all the way to, what do they call this, the stringers. We go up to the stringers and we stop. Then we rivet the stringers to the skin. And this is as far as I went. And we're gonna start on this procedure tomorrow. Folks, as far as doing the riveting down here, those rivets, if somebody have the pneumatic operated pop rivet squeezer and it did go in there and do a good job, please leave a note in the comment section so the rest of us would know, because I don't have one. So if there is a use for it, we all would like to know. And this is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.